What's going on, everybody? It is Tuesday night at 8 p.m. on the East Coast. Thanks for joining me tonight. I don't know where my audio went. Check 1, 2. Oh, hang on. Here we go. I couldn't hear myself. I hope you guys can. Let me know in the comments if you can't hear me. Welcome. It is 8 p.m. on the East Coast. That means it is time for the Proper Royals live show. We got the Gray family on tonight. They're Gray family snakes. That's Roger and Lori. They've just come back from a trip to Sierra Leone, and we're going to talk all about it. Why are we talking about a trip to Sierra Leone on a ball python reptile type show podcast? If you don't know, Sierra Leone is one of the native areas where ball pythons are from. The Gray family, they breed ball pythons. They're super enthusiasts, and we'll get to know them a little bit better as well. There's an interesting, to me, we're going to find out more about it, but there's an interesting relationship between Sierra Leone, the ball pythons. I feel like there's I don't know how to put it, not a debt. Like we're taking resources from that region in the form of ball pythons, if not many others. We're going to find out about that too. I'm not sure. But I'd like to know what the relationship is. I'd like to know more about where they come from. These animals bring us joy, and the Gray family has just come back from there. I'm going to let them describe it. I don't know if the proper word is a mission trip, endeavor, but there's a huge charity component to it. And they had raised a lot of money from their ball python breeding merch to contribute to it sounds really basic stuff we take for granted, but I care in Sierra Leone. They're going to talk more about it. I'm not just talking glasses. I'm talking surgeries. I'm talking corrective, preventing blindness, curing blindness, I think, if I'm not mistaken, through some of these surgeries that, again, we would take for granted, that just don't happen without resources in a place like Sierra Leone. So we're going to talk all about that. I know that they're excited. You should have seen, and I say this in a caring, joking way, you should have seen the email of pictures that I got from, I think it was from Roger, but Roger or Lori the other night when they got back. So we're going to talk through that. We're going to hear all about the trip. So stick around tonight for that. Let me get through some announcements and say some hellos and all of that kind of thing. I got to get this mic right. It's the audio is a little weird. I'm still getting used to this mic in my face that the Instagram poll said said you guys take me more seriously if I have a microphone. So now you get the microphone, you get me fiddling with it and distracted by it, but that's okay. First and foremost, I don't know, I haven't even had a chance to look at the comments tonight. If Shannon and Steven are in the audience, I'm sorry I put you guys off on the phone calls today. I am going to return those calls. It might be tomorrow now because I'm occupied for the next little bit. Sorry guys, I owe you a phone call. I will catch up with you, and I know they were both important things. Not this weekend. The next weekend, 10 days away from now, I will be at the Tampa Repticon, and I'm excited for it because I've come to really enjoy these shows, and I know that that's an opinion of debate, but I really enjoy them. And a lot of what I enjoy them for is simply the camaraderie. And a lot of the guys that have taken really, really good care of me in this industry are going to be at that show. So I get to hang out with Jeremy Bod. I know he's in the audience. I get to hang out with Dale at Constricted Reptiles. I'm telling you, this mic, I'm going to go back to the old way. I've had about enough of this mic. All right, let's try this again. Constricted Reptiles. Oh, and Dale's here. Cheers, man. And I know I'll see Steve's Morphs. Miguel will be there. Jesse Music will be there. Oh, Jeremy and Holly from Snakes from the Memories, they'll be there. We're gonna have a good time. Like I intend to sell some snakes, but if I don't, I'm going to have a good time anyhow. So I'm looking forward to seeing everybody. I hope you all will come out to the Tampa Repticon show. I've not been to Tinley and Arlington. I know those are huge shows, but after Daytona, Tampa is my favorite show to date. I got 2 eggs. I have more than 2 eggs. I've got 2 clutches in the incubator, and I've got 6 other females that have are somewhere between ovulation and laying. Like, season's heating up. This is going to be cool. You guys wore me down. I did it. I finally got into, I dipped my toe into the merch game. I still didn't buy any stickers, but maybe I will. Maybe I will eventually. I'll make you a deal. We sell out my round of shirts. I'll buy some stickers. If I have to give away more shirts that I sell, I'm not buying stickers. Then I don't believe in it. I got shirts. I got them ordered, and I'm hoping I'll have them for the Tampa show. It's going to be a squeeze. I'm not sure if it's going to happen or not. If not, I'll have them with me at Orlando. I went with, I'm a real part of why I never got shirts is I'm such a t-shirt snob. Like, I want this to be the shirt that you like reach for, your go-to shirt. Then you're going to wear it around and spread the good proper Royals word. Right. So I sprung the money for the Next Level. That's the brand name, Next Level t-shirts. I went through my favorite t-shirts and I looked at the brands, and Next Level was the most common of my favorite shirts. Then was a brand called Bella Canvas. So the men's shirts are in Next Level. The women's shirts are Bella Canvas. I got women's cut for ladies, so you can feel like ladies and not feel like little boys wearing a boy's t-shirt. And in the men's, I have I have medium, large, and XL. And in the ladies, I have small, medium, and large as well. So let me know. Those are going to be 25 shipped. And of course, I'm going to make you deals if you're buying snakes. If you've already given me a shirt, you probably got one coming. The Patreon guys have a shirt coming. So anyhow, come see me. I'll have those. Be happy to ship you one. Next week, we got Herbert from HB Reptiles up in New York. HB Reptiles, next week's show. Dude produced a triple visual. There, that's all the hook I'm going to tell you. That's all you need. You just come to the show. We don't show snakes very often on the show, but I might want to see the triple visual. He's got one. Then things get interesting. I got my calendar over here. Things get interesting because for the first time in well over a decade, I'm going to take a summer vacation. I'm not going to work. I'm not going to be running restaurants or sweating resort life for working in a resort life, not enjoying resort life. I'm going on vacation. And I could host the show from the road, but what am I going to give up a night in Boston to host the show? I might just pop in from, somewhere cool in Boston. And then the next week I'll pop in somewhere cool from somewhere cool in the woods of Maine. We'll figure it out. So holding down the fort while I'm gone, unprecedented at the Proper Royals channel is we're going to have on June 20th, I'll have Steven and Courtney, I think, from Leviathan Snakes. And okay, so we're going to get to the Gray family, I promise. So we'll run the show as long as we need to. But Steven and Courtney, I reached out to Steven and I was like, do you want me to line up kind of an easy guest, a real dependable, charismatic guest? I've got a pretty good library, a little black book of contacts now for guests. And Steven goes, "No, I'm going to make some phone calls." And he texts me. He goes, "Hey, I got Brad Boa." This guy's trying to big time me on my own show. So Steven and Courtney and Brad Boa will be the June 20th episode. And then on the 27th, Charlie from Reagan Renee Royal Pythons, good friend of mine, good friend of the show. He is going to host, and I don't know what he's got cooking up. He said he wanted to take a stab at it himself with, booking the guest. I said, more power to you. I'm going to start my vacation early. That's fine. We'll see. I'm not sure what's going to line up there. And then the following Tuesday is actually the 4th of July. We're not going to do the show that night. I can't compete against the fireworks, so I'm going to do that. I might do a show. I don't know. That's so far out. I might do another night that week. I might not. I might just see you on the 11th, and that will be the end of my sabbatical, and we'll get right back to it. So I'm looking forward to it. I will see you on those shows, but I won't be hosting, and I may or may not be able to hang out for very long. So I will be there. Okay. Gray family snakes. First and foremost, I need a little bit of help. There's 21 of you all watching right now, which is cool. You're right on time. I started right on time tonight. That's a nice relationship. I need two of you, any two, to go to Instagram and go to the Gray Family Snakes page. They're at 998 followers. I promised them we're going to slam dunk it over 1,000 and we're going to get this done. And once they get over 1,000, then I'm going to give them some hints that, like, if you're going to be on a podcast tonight, you could get followers if you tagged me and posted that you were going to be on the podcast tonight. All in good fun. I actually include in my emails, no expectations when it comes to marketing. We all got busy lives. This is my show. I'm cool with it. That was just a joke. But seriously, let's get them over 1,000 followers on Instagram tonight. They're doing really, really good things out in the world, not just in their neighborhood, out in the world. And I'm really happy to have them on. We talked behind the scenes. I can't remember. I'm going to ask, I'll ask them when they're on. I can't remember if I approached them or they approached me about being on the show, like sometime back, and it didn't line up, or one of us declined for some reason. I can't remember if it was them or me. But then we got back in touch, especially when this Sierra Leone trip came up. And then obviously they've been on the Whole Back Rack podcast, and they've been on Chris's show, Snakes and the Fat Man, of course. And they do good for the community. They're sponsors of the Hold Back Rack. And we kind of reconnected. And anyhow, here they are tonight. Enough of my yammering on. I got through all those announcements in 11 minutes. Please, for the first time ever, welcome to the show, Roger and Lori from Gray Family Snakes. Good evening.
Hey.
How are you?
Hey, you're doing good.
Good. I'm really glad to have you, and I need you all to vouch for me. We don't plan the show. I don't have, I have my own notes, but as far as like in the green room, like we didn't discuss anything. None of this is staged conversation. And I have This is true, right? We talked for about 2 minutes, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a list of things I want to talk about that we haven't cleared. So see how it goes.
I always tell everybody, like, make it as if we're old friends hanging out. And if we go where the conversation goes, and if we don't get to everything, it's 52 weeks in a year. We got time for another one. So
yeah, I like the format of just hanging out and doing quick questions and answers, very low pressure. I like that.
Thank you. And when it works, it's super natural because, well, very natural, I should say. Supernatural has a different meaning. Maybe it's supernatural too, but yeah, it feels completely inorganic to me when I'm going, all right, question 16. We'll talk about this. So enough about me. When did you all get back in town? Like, you've got to still be jet lagged. You're only at what, 72 hours home?
Yeah, we came,
give or take. We came back Saturday night.
Yeah. Okay. How are y'all feeling?
All right. A little tired. We slept on the plane a good bit, so that helped. We've been going to bed about this time the last couple of days because that's bedtime in Sierra Leone. So.
Okay, so we're gonna get the real honesty. Like you don't have the wide awake filter. You're I'm gonna catch you off guard. A little tired.
I got some some whiskey and coke to keep me up. So you'll really get the honest filter, unfiltered.
Now, how did you feel? Like I've never traveled east that direction, but when I came back from Hawaii traveling east, it kicked my butt. Man, it took me a long time. So how are you feeling when you got there versus how you're feeling now?
So we got there, it was about 6 or 7 o'clock Sierra Leone time. So, we got there and it was, time to socialize a little bit and see where we were staying. And then we hit the sack pretty quick.
Oh, cool.
So it wasn't too bad for me.
Okay.
And our daughter went with us, our oldest, and she kept saying, she's not tired. She's not tired. She's fine. Well, I went in and checked on her. She was passed out, just knocked completely out.
Yeah.
I think there's something to that. The time of the flights is good because we arrived like 6 o'clock when we got there. Same there about when we got here, and we just went right to bed, and it helped a lot. So.
Gotcha. And do y'all travel internationally often, or have you before?
We haven't before. The last trip we took was to the UK in 2019 before the world shut down.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think there's probably a skill to some of that too. That was the first time I had traveled that distance before. Like I say, at least east and west. I've traveled quite a lot in Canada, but that's primarily north and south. But anyhow, so so thank you for being here, even through any grogginess and jet lag. So tonight you've done a fair number of podcasts with sort of the backstory and all that, so we don't have to dive deep into that, but give everybody the 30-second pitch. Tell us about yourselves, what you're doing, and then let's get into Sierra Leone.
Yeah, for sure. So we started this about coming up on our 4th year now. 4th season will start here soon. Our daughter was looking for a pet, and she brought in a wolf spider and said, "Dad, can I please have it?" Because she had, we hadn't had a dog or anything in like a year. So I decided to start doing a little research and figure, okay, what's a better pet that's not a dog? Because I don't want to work that hard, right? And I came up with a ball python, right? You feed them once a week and give them some water, and they're good. But then, of course, not really knowing how to take care of it, we went down the YouTube rabbit hole, and I figured out real quick you can warm up 20 rats just as quick as you warm up one rat. And now here we are, $100,000 worth of snakes, and just still growing.
Yeah, so you guys are on the frozen thawed plan as well?
Yeah, for sure. We've got a nice rat warmer somebody turned us on to. So it's basically an old wine cooler that you put heat tape all around, and it's got the shelves in it. So we just throw the frozen thawed in there, set the heat tape on like 110. A couple hours later, they're dry. They're all ready to go. That's definitely the way to do it. Change my life.
I just, I think it was yesterday. I got actually, I don't think Jeremy cares. Jeremy from Snakes for the Memories, he's working on switching over to frozen thawed, and he called me, and I was like, all right, here's what I do. And like, everybody's got their own way that works. Yeah. Like I've got my own little heat lamp rig on a step ladder kind of thing. And then I do my smalls and mediums one way, and my fuzzies and pups another way. But yeah, once they're going, it's great. I appreciate it as well. So
getting them out of the water was the key. I mean, when I was putting them in hot water, they cool down so fast because they're wet, it evaporates and they get cold. And that was miserable. Once you had a lot of snakes and they're all wet, it's not good.
I believe it or not, I've never used the water method. When I first saw it, there was a dude on YouTube, and he was like grabbing his bare hand into rat water and picking up sopping wet rats. And I was like, I will never, ever do that. There's got to be another way. He was dripping the rat water on his carpet. I was like, this is everything. Yeah. Everything wrong with this is why we have the reputation we have. I was like, no, I can't do that, man.
I don't even touch the dry ones with my hands. I will use tongs till forever. No, I'm not a rat person.
Well, and I don't know about you all, but the way that mine are conditioned, man, when they smell them when they're getting heated, mine, if I open that tub on feed night, my hand's going to get jacked. I can't do this. So anyway, okay. So frozen thawed. So 4 years ago. So another, was this pre-pandemic or right at the start of pandemic?
It was just before. So we bought Samantha her pet January of that year.
20.
So it was
20. Okay.
Yeah. So I guess, it was like December 2019, we started looking, and then 2020 January, I guess is when okay. So we had probably 6 or 7 when the pandemic hit. We were just starting to grow. We knew we wanted to do it. So we got to buy all the really expensive snakes.
Yeah. I just did a video. I've filmed it. It's not released yet. I've just filmed a video on sort of the legacy. I dubbed us all the COVID keepers, on kind of the legacy of the COVID keepers. And one of the things I talked about was, we myself included, we bought when the market was at its peak, as far as costs. So anyhow, yeah. Okay. So but you made that thought pretty quick then. Cause I mean, if you had 6 or 7 by the time March rolled around, then you were already like, I'm on board.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we got Samantha, her snake, and I went on a business trip for 2 weeks. When I came back after those 2 weeks, he had a spreadsheet laid out of a 20-year plan. He's like, this is what I want to do. And he had already bought another snake.
Yeah, I'd been researching all the morphs. I understood, learned the recessives, the dominant. I had my little wire diagram, all the pairings I wanted to do to make like a 5 recessive snake.
Yeah.
So I started picking out some things I needed and started buying them. And our first clutch, which actually bred later that year in 2020, hatched in 21, was I got an Axanthic pied, a lemon blast female. So that was like a great first clutch,
Yeah, I'll say I'm. Well, Well, and we could do a whole episode too. There's different theories on what to buy to start with, hobby versus business, resources, all that. Which that's my whole channel. But man, so you hit a lightning pied the first.
We hit a couple. Did we only hit one lightning pied the first year?
Yeah. Oh, we kept her.
So then we had a bunch of everything was 100%. So the main thing I wanted to do was offset. So I wanted a pied het axanthic male and a bunch of axanthic het pied females were double heads.
Right.
And so for the most part, we had a bunch of 100%. We knew what they were. We had a few 66s, but yeah. So even the ones that didn't hit were $1,000 snakes. And at the top, really hitting. Prices were going way up. We were doing great on our byproduct. So.
Yeah, you guys probably thought you were like, man, who knew life could be so easy, right? That was that's cool. Yeah, that speaking of video topics, that expression you just used, the offsets. I just purchased two males specifically for that purpose, to eliminate any potential normals or 66. They'll all be visual or 100% het something. And of course it doubles the odds when you buy that.
Well, my whole spreadsheet's kind of thrown for a loop now because RGI with what they're doing and the testing, sometimes it makes more sense to pay the money and just test a couple of het to het, and see what you got. It just depends on what you're doing.
It's rare in life you get to buy time, and that's really what testing is, right? I mean, I'm being serious. That's really what it is. It lets you buy time. And on a hobby that takes us a year at best to improve anything, and at worst, I was talking to somebody this week. I mean, it just broke my heart to hear they lost 7 visual desert ghosts in the incubator. Like, whoa, how do you keep going after that, right?
We're having a rough year this year too. So we had 2 the first year. Then the second year we had 5, and a lot of axanthic pieds. A lot came out that year. That was a really good year for us. But now this year we wound up having some show. Somehow we got some mites in our quarantine room. So we just treated everything just to be safe. And we treated them for a couple months. But that was kind of like prime breeding season. And I think it threw some of them off because we've got 1 gravid female this year. She'll be axanthic het desert ghost. All her babies will be axanthic het desert ghost with pastel and pinstripe and other stuff in there. So it'll be a nice clutch. But I think we're gonna have 1 clutch, so that's really
out of the expected 7.
Yeah, we thought we were gonna have 7 or 8 go, but it's not.
Yeah, so it sounds like you've stayed really focused on what you're. When I say focused, you haven't. It doesn't sound like you're like, you weren't planning on 20, 30 clutches to begin with.
Right,
not yet.
We're growing them up. We didn't buy a bunch of adult pastels and that kind of thing. We really stuck with buying babies that had a lot of genes in them. So we're pretty close. I think this next season, I mean, we could have as many as 30 clutches next year. They're gonna be pretty high end. But the growing up stage is slow.
Yeah, and it's the famous quote. I mean, people don't realize how long 3 years is. This is a long time. Like right now, it's been like 3 years almost to the pinpoint of when the first stimulus checks went out. That seems like a lifetime ago. It's only 3 years. And that's, if you bought a hatchling girl that year, that means you're just now like really confident. Maybe she would have gone last year, but this is really the time you're confident for, right? Like it's a long time. It's a long slog for sure.
Yeah. So it's fun watching them grow up too, though. That is fun. But definitely the best part is opening those eggs up, when they're ready.
It still feels like magic, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's like Christmas,
It's Christmas
it is.
time.
We had at least 7 Christmases last year. 5
Yeah.
Christmases last year's great.
Like I know the science. I know that, like, if I know that they're all going to be pied, like in this clutch, that's just what science says. Still, when I cut those eggs, I'm like, yes, look at that. It worked. It's there. It's like, it's amazing. It's beautiful. I love it. It's a great thing. So I don't take it for granted. I really enjoy those moments. So
the most fun is when you find a gene in your female that you didn't know you had, it comes out in the baby. So we got like that first one that made that axanthic pied lemon blast. She was sold to us as a pinstripe inchy axanthic possible het pied. So we got a pretty good deal on her. When she turned out to be pied, man, I got that on YouTube. I was jumping up and down. I was like, hey, there's a pie in here, and then a little later, oh my gosh, and there's Xanthic pie.
Yeah, I haven't, not to that degree. I haven't experienced it to that degree. It's funny you said you didn't buy any like adult pastel breeders. I did. August 2020, I was like, yeah, I'm going for it. I'm going to get this breeder girl. She's not laid for me once. She's massive. She's like over 3,000 grams. Never to date has she laid for me. But it was funny because I got her in August. By December, the guy called me back out of the blue, and he had bad customer service, hadn't spoken to me, didn't follow up. Not bad, just indifferent. Yeah. Out of the blue, he calls me. He goes, hey, I'll buy her back from you. And I was like, excuse me? And he was like, yeah, that snake. I was like, the pastel female? He's like, yeah. I said, oh, no, I'm really looking forward to breeding her. I've got her. I don't have any others, And he was like, well, if you want to sell her, you let me know. I'll double your money. And I paid like $200 for us. Yeah. What? So I go on his Facebook page, and her eggs hatched out a batch of Kryptons. He didn't know that she was het cryptic is what he discovered. And he never told me up front. So I don't feel bad about keeping the snake, but she's never once laid for me since then. So maybe this year
got a good deal.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Maybe this year she'll give me 15 eggs, and we'll call it even for the past 3 years. So we'll see. So okay, so the Sierra Leone trip. Tell us, give us the overview. What is it? What's the? How did you? Just tell us. I don't know. I got a million questions. Go for it.
Yeah. So where this came from, we've been involved with a charity for about 8 years, long before the ball pythons. And so this was just. It's not. I don't know. It's kind of complicated to explain, but it's not through our church. They're a support organization to the United Methodist Church Eye Center there, but the people that run this. Actually established the eye center. So a guy named Lowell Guest, who was an ophthalmologist years ago, he just passed away last year at 100 years old. He's established the eye care center and the capability to do surgeries in Sierra Leone. What they're doing right now is they do cataract surgeries, and they can do it for like $40. I think Mr. Beast just did a video on this not too long ago.
This is his same and that initiative.
Same idea. Yeah.
Same idea.
So, right.
Different areas.
Yeah. Okay.
He was supporting some other ones. So I think he was supporting Christian Blind Mission or one like that, which is a very good organization. Highly recommend it. They go all throughout Africa and do a lot. This one was specific to Sierra Leone because what Little Guest had done, Dr. Guest, he had traveled there as a missionary and just discovered like, wow, they can't do anything. There's nobody here that they can go to that can solve this. So he stayed. He brought his family, and for 18 years he lived there and he took care of it. And he eventually just started making trips back and establishing the hospital. So, did I see it's literally like either first or second on the list of poorest countries in Africa? I mean, it was third when I looked it up, third in the world. I don't know. Okay. Probably in Africa, maybe first or second.
Oh, okay, yeah.
South America's got a few too.
Yeah. And I know it was ravaged, and that's a legitimate word to use, about 11-year civil war. Now that ended about 20 years ago. Yeah. Do you still see effects of that? Do you see the damage and division?
Yeah, for sure. So there's not so much division. People are really friendly. They get along well. It's like 65% Muslim, 35% Christian, but they're all kumbaya. When we were there, it was funny. When we first showed up, everybody's just kind of like staring at us, but they don't see a lot of white people there.
Right.
so they were staring at me, and I was staring at them. I was like, do they not like me? What's going on?
Yeah.
And finally, I got up enough nerve to like smile and wave at them, and they all started smiling and waving back. So that became the game. I was like, let's see how many people I can smile and wave. It was great. So no concerns like that at all. I forgot what I was saying before.
The doctor that had lived there for 18 years and was traveling back and forth.
Yeah, so he set up surgery. So about 8 years ago, I was I was trying to figure out. I'm a UMC member, United Methodist Church, but I was looking for something better to do with my money, like tithe. I'm a believer in tithing, but I didn't want to just give the church and go for an organ or painting a gym or that kind of thing. I want to do something meaningful with it. And I found this charity where every dollar you give them goes right to the mission. So I was bought in. I called them. I asked a bunch of questions. They wound up kind of bringing me in. I did their website, their very first website, because it's a small group of people that kind of run this thing. And so they're happy to whatever help they can get. But they all do it volunteer for their time. None of that money goes to a board member. It's only 100% efficient charity I could find, and it's with a mission like giving people sight in a third world country for $40. How can you beat it?
Yeah. Now, they're paying the doctors? Yeah. I mean, are the doctors volunteers too, or how does that?
So they do. They pay. There's a mix. So the Americans that fly over there, that's all. And there's some Chinese people. They're volunteer that fly in and do that.
Okay.
They did establish a full-time eye hospital there on the United Methodist campus. And everybody there that's from country, they pay for them. In fact, we sponsored a guy from Sierra Leone to go get his doctorate degree, learn how to do the surgeries, and come back. But they make very little. Like, I mean, compared to what we make, it's
right. I get that part of it.
Yeah. So they get paid to do the work, but the board members and the people doing the marketing and the people from the U.S., nobody in the U.S. is making money on it. They volunteer their own dollars to do things like the website and those kind of things. We all just kind of do it.
Great. And I don't know if we've said to say that, and if anybody wants to help or to contribute, talk about the charity. I don't even know if we've actually said the name of it.
I'm sorry, you're right. So Central Global Vision Fund. And I kind of hate the name personally because it's like a mouthful and it sounds like there's some big corporate board somewhere collecting half your money. But it's named after Central, what's the name of that church that started?
I have no idea.
So Central, which I can't remember the name of this church up in South Dakota. We're in Alabama. And so I had found them through the United Methodist website. But they had aspirations to be bigger and go do more things, but they've pretty much just stayed in Sierra Leone. And like I said, it's a small group. So like last week when we were there, Debbie Guess, which is Lowell's granddaughter, who's also an ophthalmologist, was there doing eye surgery. So it's really continued to stay small, despite the name.
Yeah. Well,
the Central Global Vision Fund is it.
So a couple thoughts. One, this is just my own personal beliefs. I find I take great confidence when I hear people saying, I want to take action, no matter what anybody thinks of religion or specific religions. Yeah. Seeing action put into action and words put into action is really the idea of walking the walk is really important to me and valuable to me and impressive to me. And that, I'm not conflating punk rock ideals with Christianity. That's not what I'm doing here. But one thing I've always loved about that sort of ethos is that everybody's welcome. You talked about a smile and a wave. Yeah. That's a fair start for any level playing field. And that I appreciate hearing that. And what I'm trying to do is say thanks for doing that. And I'm doubly impressed just to hear the description that you just gave, because we do wonder where money goes sometimes. And there is a reason that some there's a history of financial abuse in some churches and in some worlds and in some places. And on one hand, nobody's perfect. On another hand, it creates skepticism and we wonder. So I really like to hear that. The other thing that I believe I heard, which I have written on my page here, the old analogy of giving a fish versus feeding a fish. Giving a fish is fantastic because somebody needs their sight. Like we don't need to debate philosophically over whether we should give them a fish or teach them to fish. Get them their sight. But did I hear you say that the fund has sponsored people to go on to be doctors that can do this in their own communities?
Yes, that's what we've done. And so we're actually trying to expand into Mashingbi, which is a province in Sierra Leone, further away from the one main city, which is Freetown. And so one of the things we're doing is building a center there with a guy who's very capable. So and he's a Sierra Leone, local, and that's a big part of it, trying to just spread that capability out there,
making it more convenient for others who can't get to the city.
And I'm with you. I don't want to just give somebody food all the time, right? I mean, you're not solving a problem then, and they just become reliant on you. I want to do something where we're giving them a hand up, right, and they can take the next step then, and they're so appreciative. They can see for the first time, and they didn't have anywhere else to go. So what we're doing right now, and what we were up there doing, is they can do cataract surgeries, which are the $40 one that's very common, and they're having a lot of success with that. So now, for the first time, they've done glaucoma stents, so people have glaucoma that can get relief, and they've got the equipment and supplies to do retina surgeries. So they're expanding what they can do to give people sight beyond just the cataracts. So it's really great to be part of that.
Are those and I have no background in this stuff.
Me either. I'm learning by being there and talking to these guys who are way smarter.
Well, no, and you're way ahead of me. Are these conditions that evolve over time, or some of these people that have literally never seen before?
So some of them, there's a little bit of everything. Most of it's stuff that's evolved over time. It's also trauma. I mean, if you're out working in the field, most of them are farmers, especially out in the rural area, and they got a stick in the eye. What are they going to do? There's no doctors that do anything for them. So they do a lot of trauma type stuff. What else?
Ebola.
Yeah, Ebola. So Ebola was
I got that on my notes. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was found by Dr. Guest that a side effect of Ebola is cataracts. He was in there in country as a missionary during that time, and he saw several of his patients had cataracts and something that looked a little funny when they had Ebola. So he was actually the one who contacted the CDC, and they started looking into it and figuring all this out. So they have a little bit of a research area there as well that's set up by, I think it's Emory, one of the universities here in the States that does some Ebola research still.
I believe I did see Emory. Yeah, that stuck out to me. I believe it is Emory. Yeah.
So Ebola causes cataracts. So it was widespread. I think something like 50% of people that had it didn't make it. In Sierra Leone, they got 310,000 orphans still today between the Civil War that we talked about, Ebola, and then AIDS, which is throughout Africa. So So
one of my questions was like, I don't mean it I didn't mean it in a negative way. I wanted to understand, but in my mind, I was like, are these eye problems so rampant? I don't like. I'm a sample of one, but like, I got good eyes. I'm fine. I don't know anybody my age with cataract. I consider that like an old person's thing, but the side effects of Ebola, like you say, that was a rampant disease that was, oh my gosh, devastating.
And it still is. So, I mean, they can only see so many people at a time. In a week, I think they can see like 50 people is kind of an average for cataract surgery. But if you think about how many eye doctors are in Florida,
that's true.
There's 8 million people in Sierra Leone. They need eye doctors just because they're people with eyes. Everybody's got eyes. And, I know, if you need glasses or any other stuff, there just wasn't anybody. So now there's a couple more folks there now in Freetown. There's 3 eye doctors in Sierra Leone now, as I understand it. None of them can do the stuff that they're now adding, the glaucoma treatments and the retina treatments. So that's something brand new as of this year that they're able to do.
Wow.
In the entire country.
No, yeah, I was doing some research on the show prep, and I think everybody knows, but like I put work into the show to make sure that I can at least float an intelligent thought on the topics. But yeah, I saw something like the population of Sierra Leone is comparable to the population of Minnesota, and there's 270 ophthalmologists in Minnesota, and like you say, that doesn't count the neighborhood reading glasses, walk-in clinic kind of deal. Right. These are ophthalmologists handling it. So that put it into context. And you said that there were 3. I think on the website it said 2 at the moment. So yeah, I mean it's next to nothing going on there, huh?
Yeah, that's right. So it's limited. So right now, Freetown, if you look at the map, I've got a new video that I just posted out there today on YouTube. That is one of the guys talking about why we want to build a new place out in Machine. But if you look at Sierra Leone as a map, Freetown's like way on the edge. Okay, so everybody's got to travel, but who don't have any money. I mean, these guys make like $5 a day on average, and less in a lot of areas, especially in rural areas. They don't make anything; they just farm. So to get gasoline, it's still very expensive. To move from one place to another is very expensive. So people just can't get to Freetown. So now we're putting a site out in Machine, which is very central to Sierra Leone, to at least cut some of that distance.
All right, and let's dig in on that because I'm not strong. I'm probably stronger than the average person on Sierra Leone geography, but I'm not strong on it. So Sierra Leone sits right on the western coast of Africa on the Atlantic. And so you're saying Freetown is all the way inland? It's not the coastal town?
It's the coastal town.
It's on the coast.
It is the coastal town. Yeah. Okay.
But if you look at the whole map, then that's on the edge of the whole country, right? So people can't get there necessarily. A lot of people can't get there. So like when we were there just 2 weeks ago when Debbie Guest came to do the surgery, she did 60 surgeries. They bust them in from 6 hours away because the people in Freetown had some options, but those people had none. So
right, okay, and so it's probably I was going to ask like how far is that travel? I don't have a good feel, but 6 hour bus ride from across the country.
Yeah, it's about maybe 7 or 8 if you go all the way across the entire country.
Sure. But that gives us, I mean, we're back to kind of the Minnesota example, north to south, and Minnesota's around that too. So, yeah. So where were you, what were you doing when you all were there? So you've told us about the mission and the mission of the charity. Yeah. What were you all doing when you were there?
So they had invited us out several times. I never felt really good about just going out there and sightseeing because my thought is the flights are expensive. I'd rather just give that money, buy more supplies, that kind of stuff. And that's what I did for a long time. There's 2 things. One is specifically with this mission, they had, expanding into the ability to send to do the glaucomas and the retina stuff. They sent a big trailer of stuff out there. So over $1 million worth of equipment and supplies, like latest technology to do this kind of work. And so they really needed help, not just like the nice locals who wanted to pick up expensive technical equipment and move it, but people to oversee and help just manage that process. So we went out there and helped manage that. I have a little bit of a logistics background. I helped them set up an inventory tracking system. They really didn't know what inventory they had at the time, so we've set that up. And it was also just to see it. So like I said, they've invited us out many times. I hadn't seen it. What put me over the edge to say, hey, I want to go out there, though, is knowing that there's also ball pythons in the area. So now I can spend my vacation money and feel good about it and go out there and see where the ball pythons live, so we did that as well. We didn't get as much time on it as I wanted to. I was hoping it was going to be like a 50-50 trip, but it wound up being more like 90-10. We got to do very little, actually, like herping and ball python type stuff. Yeah. I might even be generous on the ball python side because there was just so much to do. And we were with a group of people who were not that interested in snakes.
So, I was going to say, how many people were in your group? And 2-part question, I guess. Yeah. Did they also have skills that they were able to contribute? So you get a group of volunteers, and what comes to my mind is when I was in Miami after Homestead after Hurricane Andrew. Okay, you're an electrician, you're a roofer. Okay, let's get this place where livable, and we'll live under it, and then we'll go work somewhere else, kind of thing. Is that sort of what was happening in the group too?
Yeah, to an extent. So Sierra Leone is completely opposite of here. Anything that you want to buy, like equipment or supplies, Coke, gasoline, that kind of stuff, that's the expensive stuff. Because most of that stuff's got to be imported, and they don't produce a lot in country, so that stuff's expensive. Labor's cheap as heck. If you want somebody to pick something up and move it from here to there, that's really cheap.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So they had plenty of labor, like manual labor help. But everybody that came there brought a different skill set. So we had Debbie there, who was obviously important. She was the one doing all the surgeries at the time. We had a guy there who was just an awesome missionary who would pray with these people who were very nervous and scared and crying, and he did a great job of just helping them through the process.
They were having the surgeries?
Yeah, people having the surgeries, people having the surgeries. Some of them were kids. I mean, it was an event. And they don't know what's going on, Right. So they'd never been to a doctor before, most of them. And so it was an experience all the way that they needed help through.
Let me ask you this. That's an interesting point. Yeah. If I'm in a culture that the eye problems are common, and maybe normalized, and then these strangers come and they're gonna, I guess you put them asleep. You have to go to sleep. You have to anesthetic. Are you doing local, or are you awake, or how's that work?
It's local for the most part. They have various different surgeries that they have to do. The cataract surgery, the main one that they've got just tons of history on, not the new stuff. Is local, unless there's something serious going on.
Gotcha.
They do have to put them to sleep and do some of that too. But I'm not smart on the medical piece of this.
Really, my question was going to be, what's the cultural angle? Where's the trust factor? It takes a lot of trust to go, all right, dude, put a scalpel in my eye like that. I don't know that I could say that if that was not culturally normal in my world. Yeah,
no, I think a lot of it is just, they don't really have any other option. They know they can't see. They're not very helpful on the farm. They are just a burden on their families. And, they're not, it's not like here where they can just go get food. I mean, people have to take care of them. And so I think just the idea that there could be a way out is very appealing to them. But also, for instance, machine bee, I'll talk about some more of that. the guy who's there, he set up a clinic where he does screening. So everybody with an eye problem doesn't come to 6 hours away. I guess it's a 7-hour round trip, so 3.5, 4 hours away from Mission. Not everybody comes there because they have an eye problem. He's able to do the screenings and identify who has cataract surgery, who's a good candidate, who's not, and whittle down hundreds of people to the 60 that actually had surgery. And so he's a local. They trust him. He's talking in their own language, all that kind of stuff.
Okay, that's the ticket, right?
Yeah. And somebody told me he was like a chief in that village, but I don't quite understand how that works either.
Yeah, yeah. I love culture. I love. I would love to just sit down at a table and have dinner with the whole world. But yeah, certainly there.
So I didn't get to do as much of that as I wanted to. But that was like one of the biggest on my list of things I want to do. I was out there. So I'm going back. I already booked my tickets. I'm going in November to spend several days, if not a week, with him, Bob Conte in Mashimbi, and learn the local culture and that kind of stuff, because there's no electricity, none of that stuff. So my group wasn't going to do that with me.
Wow, really? Okay.
So I got to go back.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So what are the living conditions like? You said no electricity. I'm guessing no indoor plumbing then?
I'll give you a chance to talk. Sorry.
Yeah, about 2% of the residential area in Freetown has electricity. They have power. Like very, very, very few have any power. That they cook over fire. They sleep in make makeshift homes with like tarps over top and holes in them, and a lot of them are just like single room. Everybody's sleeping in, where they cook.
Yeah.
We didn't have that. We were a little bit above that. We had city power. And so we had an air conditioned type apartment on the hospital compound. And so when the city power would blink out sporadically, we would have a generator turned on, and to help maintain the compound facilities.
Yeah, so because they're doing eye surgeries and have all that medical equipment there, they have a generator that's hooked up to it, and then they built a apartment for the doctors that come and the volunteers. So there was a lot of us in that apartment, at least when we first got there, until the doctors left, and then we did some more cleanup and inventory type stuff. But we at least had electricity, so that was nice. And we had running water as well, but the water we couldn't drink. Actually, Samantha, our daughter, wasn't getting sick because she was brushing her teeth with it. We kept telling her not to.
So we had the water running, so when we spit the toothpaste and all that stuff, it goes down the drain. And she thought we had the water running because we were putting our toothbrush underneath it to wet the brush. So yeah, she got sick on the flights home. But
is she doing all right?
Yeah, she's fine now. It was like a
good.
24-hour thing.
A little bit more than 24, like 50 hours. It was a rough flight home, and I think she's good.
Yeah, she's fine.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that. Anyway, yeah. That's the last thing we need to dive into details on.
Yeah.
If she's good, perfect. I'm down with that.
We got some gross stories on that airplane.
That's a bad place to be sick. Yeah, that's hard, right?
And it was on our first leg, and we had at that point I think we still had like 30 hours left to go.
Yeah, what were your flights? How'd you get there?
We flew from here in Huntsville. No. We drove to Nashville. You can fly from here too. We flew out of New York and then to Brussels, and then they had a flight to Freetown.
Really? Okay. All right.
It wasn't too bad. There was 7 hours for 2 flights, and a lot of layover time.
And there's very, very limited options. I think one route is go through Brussels, through United Airlines, and then Delta Airlines, I think, coming from other directions, it'll take you through Paris.
So they only have a flight flying into Freetown every 2 or 3 days. So if you miss a flight, you're stuck for a while.
Yeah. It's
very, very rare.
It's like the Spirit Airlines here. You can go to Alaska if you want, but it better be on a Monday or a Thursday. And
yeah.
if you miss it, well, Monday or Thursday will come around. Yeah.
Right.
It's interesting too, when you get there, they've got the airport on the other side of like this very large bay from where the main city is. So you got to pay $50, which is a ton of money in Sierra Leone, to ride a ferry across. So we had to do that as well. So it took time.
So, and I'm sure this is common throughout, particularly the the poorer the country, I imagine the more common this is. But I've heard a few examples between the electricity, 2% having it, and some of the conditions, then this ferry. So there's a huge disparity of haves and have-nots. Like,
yes.
No normal person's ever riding that ferry in Sierra Leone, right?
Correct.
That's right. So the 2% numbers for the country in Freetown, that's really one of the few places where electricity even is an option. It's about 15%. But even if you're one of those 15%, it's not reliable. So probably every day, I would go almost every day. I would go take a shower and the electricity would cut off while I was sitting in the shower. It was very common. And so we had the generator, so I just wait till somebody kicked on the generator. But you're not doing that, they're not, that's not the normal, approach to that.
Right.
So think about that, right? So if you want to have like a drill, you want to have a business like cutting stuff or whatever, putting stuff together, you're going to invest in this electronic, these power tools, and you're not going to have electricity half the time. It's very hard for them to, really be effective.
How common is fuel there? Are they driving cars, or is that a common concept, or is that not?
Motorcycles is bigger. There's a lot more people with motorcycles. Not everybody drives. The roads are very unlike ours.
Yeah, I saw some pictures.
Very unlike ours.
That was the impression I got. Yeah.
They don't really have, they have two sides of the road kind of thing, but they don't really have lanes. It's, the space goes to the bigger vehicle.
Yeah.
Okay.
They have one traffic light.
Yeah, there's one traffic light, and it's up as a test to see how well it functions for controlling traffic.
And they didn't put out good instructions, because we're having a conversation with our driver, a professional driver who does it for a living, and he wasn't quite sure what the yellow meant.
They just put it up and said, "Okay, here's what. Go with it.
Give it a shot." It sounds funny. I have thought, and the audience is probably rolling their eyes right now. I have thought deeply in my life about traffic lights, because but here's why. In a career in management, I spend my whole career trying to motivate and guide people to do like pretty not complicated, but if you think about, ordering food and keeping track of 30 guests dinners at the same time and who had what and whatever, there's a lot going on. And nobody has a master's degree in waiting tables. Like they might, they haven't gone, this is anyhow, what I'm saying is I am amazed that we drive literally millions of multi-ton pieces of metal that have internal combustion engines, and we control all of this with red, yellow, green, and solid and dotted lines.
Yeah.
Unreal. If I were to explain this to aliens, they would be like, "Hey, you're out of your mind. You're all going to die." And we don't. And it's amazing to me. So I'm enthralled by the idea of stoplights myself.
In Freetown, none of that. They still have
none of that.
Yep, ain't there.
They use their horns a lot.
Well, so it started to make sense to me after a while. So if you've ever been on like a bike path and you kind of ring your bell, behind you, and I'm passing you, that's how they use their horns. And they have very few accidents. They don't go as fast as we do. Right. And most of them have like little bumps on this, on the cars. But we saw one accident, and it looked like it'd been there a while.
And that was out in the rural area, not even in the city.
They're like, "I've had enough of these cars. I'm done with that, man." No, that it goes back to culture again. I would bet that there's a lingo that's evolved with the horns.
Yeah.
If
they hold it down a little longer, they're frustrated.
The tonality of it. Yeah, exactly. Interesting. How we landed on that, I don't know. That's the stuff that gets me going. I'm cool with that. So what? I know that in some of your pictures there was tell the story. I saw a ball python in the pictures. I'll stage it there. Tell me about that and what. All of it. I'll ask more questions in a minute.
Go ahead, tell.
So the people we were with I wanted to stay in Machine so bad. I told them beforehand. They said, "Yeah, we could probably do that." So originally we were supposed to take this, the trailer that had all this equipment in it, that we unloaded all that, and we were supposed to take the trailer out to Machine and set it up as the doctor's office, the screening center there. That's where they're going to do it, is in this trailer and another trailer that they have. But they didn't have the site prepped like they thought they were going to have. So when we got there, we didn't do that. But we still took a trip out there, but it was a much quicker trip. So we didn't get to do the actual herping that we wanted to do. And so the village felt kind of bad about that. And they sent us a picture and said, hey, look, they're out here, But
we found one.
Yeah. So, but before actually backing up a step, they sent us a picture to say, hey, we've got one for you. Even though you're going to be here shortly, we're going to have one for you that you can see. And it was this beautiful, like, it had these yellow spots on it. I was like, what is this thing?
Oh, no. You're like, there's the magic to the morph.
I was on the phone. I was calling people saying, hey, I got to figure out how export works in Sierra Leone. Like, I'm ready to figure this out. So just to talk about the ball python region. So it's in the ball python region. West Africa in general is the ball python region, but most of the ball pythons we have in the States came from Ghana and the area around Ghana. So I don't think a lot have been exported out of Sierra Leone.
Okay.
So I was like, this might be something we don't have in the States.
You're thinking of location mutations, huh?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So we get out there, and the guy who had found it was gone. Like he had gone up to another city. So some of the folks were guessing, he probably thinks he's got something really good there because you're so excited about it. He went to see if he could get a better price. I was like, I was just gonna take a picture. I didn't even have the law, all the
didn't even mention exporting it to the guy.
Right. So now I was gonna tip him like $100, which is a lot, in that area. He missed out on that, but I did too. And so then, so as I said later, then they sent me more pictures of it and said, hey, when you come back, we'll have it for you. So I was like, okay. So when I go out in November and I hang out in Mashingbi for several days, I'm going with them. We're gonna go look at the termite mounds and do all that.
Yeah. So is there any ball python cultivation there? I think some of the comments in your photos when you described it were like, they think we're nuts. Like, so is this just a?
They do. So from what we gathered talking with them about our wonderful little side business, they think we're insane because over there they think that all snakes are venomous.
That's
really
they could not believe that we breed them because they're
Still,
all
really?
they're all venomous.
Yeah. So they don't. That's just how they're kind of raised to believe it. Leave them alone. They're venomous. They'll kill you. And it's, they probably believe it. There's the people believe it. The parents believe it. It's generations of bad things happening from snakes, I guess.
I was going to say, the luxury of pets, I think we take for granted. If you're living in a tarp dirt floor, the luxury of a pet, not to mention, like if any snake could kill you, maybe you just stay away from all snakes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Go on.
Yes.
There they are. Here we are. Cool. Yeah. Okay.
We had a lot of conversations about here in the U.S. We've kind of come to identify good snakes versus bad snakes. They eat the rodents and keep away the bad snakes. And they were very interested in that concept. That was not something that they thought of before, the people we were talking to at least.
Wow.
And so that was really a fun conversation. But
did you show them pictures of all the crazy stuff that we have, that I don't even know if it's good or bad now in this context, but that we have done with and by we I mean the breeding community, of the colors and patterns and all of that? Did that blow their mind, or they didn't care?
The ones who were scared of snakes couldn't tell a ball python from a black mamba, really. Stay away from snakes. But we had a really, I'm sorry, I'm stealing off thunder. So we went to what was it? The orphanage.
The orphanage.
Go ahead, tell the story. I'm talking too much.
So we went to the orphanage early in the week to deliver some gifts and stuff that we took for the kids. And they, of course, don't see electronics. They were obsessed with my watch.
Oh, cool.
And I was wearing snake earrings. They saw that. Oh, it's a snake. I was like, oh, you like snakes? So I pulled up a picture on my watch
on her phone, like they didn't even have phones
of a snake
on her watch.
But I only had the one, and it's a teeny tiny screen. So he pulled up pictures of his on his phone, and then Sam pulled up pictures of snakes on her phone, and so that's some of the videos that we've got on Instagram. Is all the kids just crowded around Sam because they were so fascinated with the snakes and the pretty colors and just amazement that we have snakes as pets.
Yeah, I don't know whether they're more interested in the fact that the phone had pretty pictures or the snakes themselves. But
yeah, and it was a combination of everything, I'm sure.
It probably was really just overload. Like,
definitely overstimulated.
Right. Speaking of Instagram, I did make good on my promise. You guys are up to 1,003 followers.
All right.
Yeah, there we go.
Hey, Make sure you like and subscribe here as well.
Thank you. Yeah. If anybody has recently joined the show or wasn't here at the beginning, I think y'all have caught on, but the Gray family, they took this trip to Sierra Leone for the Central Global Vision Fund. Eye care is fleeting at best. It's not accessible in Sierra Leone. And that's, of course, also, as we were just talking about, where ball pythons come from. But if you, I got an email earlier this week that, hey, if the show goes well, maybe we'll get over 1,000 followers on Instagram. We cracked that tonight. But if you haven't gone over there, help out Roger and Lori. Like, they're doing really good stuff. Like, I usually say people are doing good stuff in the community if we're like, teaching each other how to breed ball pythons. Like, you guys are like changing the world. So, I mean, that's really cool. Check them out on Instagram, help them out. While we got a quick break here really fast, let me pay some bills and say some thanks. Always huge thanks to Cold Blooded Cafe. If you want to feed frozen thawed, if you do feed frozen thawed, that's the only frozen thawed rodents that I use. And I'm proud to be associated with them. A background of 27 years in food production for humans, and they keep up very similar standards for their production of food for our ball pythons. They're going to give you 10% off, not $10, 10% off of an order. Use the promo code proper10 at Cold Blooded Cafe. And REDLINE shipping, man, I just sent out a snake to San Antonio today with the REDLINE sticker on it. I used them before I was tied to business with them. REDLINE shipping, it's a great experience, great price, great customer service. I would even pay more on their prices for their service. I mean it. That's the truth. So go check them out. They're going to give you $5 off your next shipping label. Proper5 is the promo code. Last but certainly not least, the guy that supported me for the longest on this channel, Chris at B&S Reptilia. That's Chris Shelley. He has a huge variety of snakes. He does have a lot of ball pythons. If you're watching this show, you're probably into ball pythons. But he also has corn snakes, various Morelia, boas, all kinds of things I don't even know. I'm out of my league already on it. Just a wide array of snakes. If he doesn't have it, he'll know about it. He's well connected and has been at this a long time. Go check him out. He's also the Pennsylvania distributor. And I bet, if you live in Maryland, New Jersey, if you can get to him, he'll distribute it. I bet. Of the chipper, I really appreciate that very much. It is the cocoa that I use. And that's the sponsors. Take care of them. They make my life so much better, and I mean that truthfully. And these folks have all long-term now, all longer than 6 months on the sponsor. And I think Chris first started sponsoring me a year and a half ago, like super early on, looking out for me. So very, very appreciative. I appreciate it. So what's the next step for you all as it relates to Sierra Leone? And then maybe we'll get back into some stateside breeding and what you got going on and what you have going on in the ball python community here in the States.
So for Sierra Leone, I'm looking forward to going back in November and kind of doing that trip right. I say right because the trip we were on was very Americanized. We had the power, we had the electricity. All the restaurants that the group wanted to go to were like American. We had cheeseburgers and stuff. Like this was not the trip I wanted it to be necessarily. So I'm going back. I'm looking forward to that. With the charity itself, I'd love to talk about what they're at. So
please do.
They started with the cataracts, and they developed that to a point where it's self-sufficient now in Sierra Leone. It's done on the United Methodist Church, United Methodist campus. But this new stuff that we're doing with the retinas and the glaucoma surgery or the glaucoma stents, it's being done like 2-3 times a year. It just started, and it's only done when American doctors go over there. So if you give that money, if you give to that charity, and especially if you give a recurring donation, what they're trying to do is get to the point where they can get $35,000 in recurring donations to train a doctor to do the retinas and the stents there long-term as well. So that people don't have to wait for that, 2-3 times a year that American doctor comes over there. We got $1.5 million worth of equipment just sitting there waiting for a doctor to come use it on a daily basis.
Let me back you up for a second. 35,000 is the number on dollars.
Yeah, that's the dollars we're trying to hit to hire a full-time doctor and the support staff to go with that.
I think I cannot write a $35,000 check. However, that is not an insurmountable number, especially with volume of people. And
you're talking 1,000 people that can see a year for that number that otherwise wouldn't. I mean, how do you beat that?
Yeah. And,
Yep.
and here on our side, that's 1,000 people that could give $35, which,
Right.
which you now have 1,000 followers on Instagram. I got a couple thousand. I got a few more thousand over there. I know your buddies with Chris. He's got a few thousand. Jana and Jessica, they got a few thousand. Like, these are
it would be so incredible if the ball python community could do this, and we would make that known. Absolutely. Or not the ball, but the reptile community.
Right.
So that would be beautiful. So, and if you think about it, like a recurring donation, you're talking what, $3 a month, and you're giving your $35.
Yeah. There you go. And like, let's get all businessy on this. Yeah. If you guys are running a business, look, deductions for a good or expenses for good causes are worth it. You can, if you do it that way, it's tax-free money that you're paying with it. So really, if you pay tax on that money, you're going to get, let's call it $3 a month. You're going to get what, $2.50 in your pocket, or you can give a full $3. And I'm not saying not to pay Uncle Sam, but maybe this is where people would prefer some of their money to go, is what I am saying. And that's legal. There's nothing illegal about that. So maybe you'll think about that, guys. If you need expenses at the end of the year, that could be a nice expense offset.
That'd be amazing.
So there is a donation link on our LinkTree that goes directly to the donation site for Central Global Vision Fund.
And that's in the description, guys. That's right there. Their LinkTree, which is kudos to you. I give everybody props. I'm not related to LinkTree whatsoever, but it makes my life so much easier. Boom, here's this, and here's how you get to that. Yeah, guys, go to that down there.
Yep. And when you go to their website, the donate button takes you to PayPal, which has a little flag that says this is a verified charity. We've done the research. It's legit. We've done the research. We've been there. It's legit.
8 years.
Feel good about it.
It's legit.
Yeah.
Very cool. Look, I know this trip was special to you, and this episode is special to me. I know this episode is special to you. What didn't we cover about Sierra Leone? What do we still need? What boxes didn't we check before we moved to some homeland stuff?
So I think we've pretty much hit the trip. I think Sierra Leone itself is very interesting to talk about. Its history. So Freetown itself, as you hear that word, is very much named after what you might think it is, which is as slavery ended. This is where the British and others took slaves that needed a place to live and dumped them off in Africa in Freetown. And they developed their community there over time. Eventually the British lost control of it. They thought they were going to control it and stopped. But while we were there, they have this great big beautiful tree, like huge tree. If you look at the freedom tree or the cotton tree there.
The cotton tree, yeah.
Yeah, so you're familiar? Well,
I'm not familiar, but it popped up on the Google. I was like, what's the cotton tree? And I didn't have time. I was like, I got to get to the show. The cotton tree. Tell me. So
that is a monster tree. And you think of it like if you ever watched Avatar, the ones with the blue people, and they have like the tree of life, like this is their place that they celebrate freedom since 1792. Big deal. Last week, the storms blew it over. So that tree is not there anymore. And so that was disappointing for them as well. Yeah. But it was a historic time that we happened to be there. So anyway, I think the history of Sierra Leone is so rich and so interesting. I just thought I'd share a little bit of those tidbits about how at least Freetown itself kind of came to be.
I did if there's ever, not that there would ever be a trivia question about Adam, but if there was, I have a degree in history from the University of Florida. So that stuff gets me going, and that's why culture is so important to me, because you gotta understand culture to understand history. Otherwise it's the boring stuff that we all hate about history. I don't know what dates and this and that. So the history of Freetown was even a little bit more complicated. The flip side of the story that you told is a different, darker perspective, where a lot of the freed slaves, they were freed because they committed to fight for the British against the Americans in their revolution. Mm-hmm. Well, once the revolution was over, these British folks didn't have this benevolent care for these former slaves. Mm-hmm. And it started to become this political rising of, hey, and it's a story we've all heard before. Those other people are the cause of our problems in our home. Get them out. Yeah.
Yep.
And they shipped them off to Freetown. And that, I'm not saying one perspective is right or wrong. It's that there's that part of it, seems to be anyhow. And so that's sort of, that also was at the root of me asking, are we giving fish or are we feeding fish? Because giving fish is valid. It is, again, if somebody can see, let's get them sight. But if we could teach them, and eventually it's their world that are creating sight, is amazing too. So I love that. I love hearing that about what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think it's 2 layers, because you're giving people sight, so now they can take care of themselves and the family, and they can fish, right? You're giving them that, but not only that, we're training doctors to keep doing that, and then it's like we're teaching people how to teach people to fish.
Yeah, well, and you brought up a good point in there too that I didn't. Again, when I think of cataracts, when I think of glaucoma, I might think of older, less able-bodied. You brought up a good point. You can't provide for your family, or you can't provide to go get the food. They don't have fridges in the hut. Like, this is they're you got to provide day in and day out kind of deal. And if you can't do that, then you're just a burden, I guess, is how they feel.
Yeah, it's definitely not just the older. It's kind of a sad story. We were there the first day. We heard a girl crying that they were over there, putting something in her eyes, trying to heal it. Again, it's more than glaucoma. It's more than cataracts. This girl, we didn't know what was going on, but we had brought some gifts for an orphanage that's nearby. So Samantha went and got her a gift. She got her a coloring book and some crayons, and went down there to try to console her, and so we get down there, and her eyes are so bad. She had measles in the eyes. Wow, and so I talked to Debbie, the ophthalmologist that was there, and I said, "Is this girl ever going to be able to see?" She goes, "No, she'll never see that coloring book." So she didn't get here fast enough, And that was, it's so much more than just old people, which we love old people too. But they've got to have it, and they've got to have people that are accessible. All in one place on the coast is just not doing it yet.
Right. So. Yeah. Well. Look, thank you for sharing. Thanks for what you're doing. I hope what I said earlier just came across as heartfelt as I mean it. People taking action, walking the walk, putting change into play rather than expecting somebody else to is hugely commendable, and something that I had the utmost respect for. So thank you all for doing that. That's awesome.
Yeah, we're just glad to be part of it.
Yeah. And it takes more than 1 or 2 people for sure as well. Well, so to switch gears and to kind of circle back to what brings us all together, tell us about, you talked about a little bit earlier about your breeding projects and some challenges you have going on this year. Tell us about the community. I think you guys travel like a lot for a lot of shows, right?
Yeah, we like to do the big shows. Our thought is eventually, if we can get into the big shows, the stuff that we're breeding that's kind of higher end, but we'll have a market for. We try to go down here to the Repticon or whatever. We're not selling anything we breed. We have a good time there, but it's not selling. So we've been to Tinley several times. I'll be quiet. Here, you talk. Go ahead, Laura. You tell them about our trips.
Yeah, last year we did both rounds of the Tinley show, and we did Arlington in February, and we plan to go to Daytona in August.
Cool.
Just to kind of spread out and see the difference of the shows.
Yeah, I can't speak to the NARBC shows. I haven't been. I'm fully intending to go to Tinley in October, and that's looking more and more certain. It's not 100% certain, but I've put it this way. I've gotten the blessing from my wife. Like, that's usually the last piece. Like, like, how could I not? Like, I would be wasting it, right? Like,
you know what I did? Just buy it, and then she's like, got no choice.
Yeah, I got a couple vices. One of them's guitars. I usually save that for the guitar purchase rather than the ball pipe. Anyway, but I love. Whoop, go ahead.
The Tinley's amazing, and when you go, make sure I know you probably heard it's before, but make sure you go to the auctions. That's amazing. And we got a Cold-Blooded Cafe shirt because they had donated a bunch of frozen thawed, like a gift certificate. So we bought that. We got a bunch of stuff to take home in one of their shirts. So.
Oh, cool!
And they're great. Yeah, it was awesome.
I like their shirts. I like their. They have a staff only one that they sent me because it's the wrong brand color. It doesn't meet their brand standards. It's my favorite long sleeve t-shirt. I mean, in Florida in the winter, like that's a winter coat for me, So, I mean, it's great on that. Yeah. Daytona. I really love Daytona. Because of the quality and the people there, but also the layout and the logistics with the Hilton right across the street, and it's massive. I mean, that is a big hotel. I mean, there's probably from end to end, first off, from end to end, it's got to be between a quarter and a half a mile long. I mean, it is a long hotel, but there's 3 or 4 restaurant bars in it. And then there is, that's how you get my attention, Chris. Adam, if you need a place to stay, hit me up in Tinley. All right, okay, guys, I'm going to Tinley now. We're gonna figure this. All right, even if I gotta go halves, I'm in. I'll figure it out. But Daytona's a blast because you just park the car. You never have to drive. You can eat in the hotel, drink in the hotel. The auction's in the hotel. The beach is off the back of the hotel. If you want to leave the hotel, you're right on the Daytona Strip, which is that's a spectacle in and of itself before you meet all the reptile people. And then there's just massive, I mean, it's a massive building. So, Dale says, Daytona is fun. I keep the show kind of PG, but, Daytona is real fun up to the point where it gets a little hazy at parts for me. So
we're going and we're not bringing the kids this time.
That's right.
In a fun, safe way. I was going to say healthy. I might have taken a little time off my life that night, but mostly safe way. It was really a blast. The people are great, and the people you can just meet. I mean, the auction night it's bonkers. It's fun. I highly recommend it. I'm very much looking forward to it. I'm glad to see so many people going too. So tell us some of the specific projects. We talked about axanthic pieds, lightning pieds. What else you got going on?
Getting heavy in desert ghost. I think desert ghost really does a lot for axanthic. So we got
I would
desert
say
ghost, head axanthic, pastel male. Pastel is really good in both axanthic and desert ghost as well. So it does a lot for those. So he went to all of our axanthic females. We'll see if some of them take. Right now we're at the 1. So we're also working the Abyss project, if you're familiar with that.
I'm not familiar with that at all.
Well, it's just a combo. So it's super mahogany GHI, and it becomes a really black snake. So we've got some pied worked in. So we should be getting us some Abyss pies, which will be kind of like the panda pied, but without the blackhead issues that you can get from those.
Right. Yeah, there's kind of a hip thing in the hobby industry right now of trying to hit the blackest black snake you can. I've got a super mahogany cinnamon, and it ain't far. It's when it comes down to it under the lights, it's a really dark bronze versus a black. It's for sale, but I might keep it and keep working just to a blacker combo with it. And plus it's powerful as a super mahogany too, so we'll see on that. I've seen, I've seen one darker one, and the people, they named it a obsidian was their name that they gave it, but I can't remember the combo, but it did have either a super cinnamon or a super black pastel, which I didn't want to pursue on that.
Yeah, the GHI does a lot. We got really lucky with a GHI that's pied who's just dark as heck. I mean, he almost looks like a black snake himself if he's in shed. I mean, he's really dark. So I think that's going to go well with the Suma.
So you said it's a Suma GHI. Yes, Suma GHI?
Yeah, Suma GHI is the Abyss. Yeah. So, and I've yet to see one with pied. I mean, maybe somebody's made it by now, but it's going to be soon if it's not.
I'm not far on that. Maybe that's a neat if I end up keeping that guy. That's one of those ones where I told myself I'll make it for sale. If it doesn't sell, I'll keep it.
Yeah.
You could keep things from selling. If you want to pay me, I'll sell it. But otherwise, I guess I'll keep this. That's an old guitar trick. When my wife says, "Oh, you got to sell some good," I put them for sale, but dang if they're not selling.
Nobody wants them.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of triple recessive, quadruple recessive stuff. So most of it we're not ready for another couple of years, but we're kind of going that way. So for the most part, we're making double visual, double recessive. Kind of things. So we got really lucky on another snake that we bred that was a no white pied, and she was also albino and leopard. So we didn't even know she was pied.
Yeah.
until all of her babies came out pied. And we're like, what happened here?
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that was really great. So we're going to be doing, we're going to try to work some no white pieds into stuff because she's just most of her babies were no white pieds as well. But you could tell, I mean, they were definitely pied, but you had to, you know, really look at it to figure out what they were because it looks
yeah, that would be much like the no white pieds stick out because of their bellies, but in an albino situation, that's a whole different challenge on that. Yeah. The thought just escaped me. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're getting into the patternless project. I don't know if you know that VPI patternless. It's not very well known. Most people for a long time thought it was a variant of genetic stripe. It looks a lot like genetic stripe, just without the stripe. It's just patternless. Which it's been bred to genetic stripe. We now know it is a different. They made double hets, so we know that it is different. And so I want to put that in with some Orange Dream and some other things, make just bright orange snake. I think it would be amazing. And if I can do that with if you've ever seen Orange Dream with pied, it just glows.
Right.
I'm picturing my no white pied Orange Dream patternless, and I'll have a highlighter.
Yeah, it would be.
That'll be a while, but yeah, it's something we're working.
So you're looking, with obviously with doubles, triples, quads. Those are decades long projects. So I guess two parts. Where do you see all this going for yourself? And then where do you consider yourself? I call it the hobby to business spectrum. Where in there are you on that?
We're not doing it. I don't think we'll ever make our living on it. So for us, it's for fun, but we do want to make money on it. So we really do like targeting those higher end snakes. And I would say it's decades long, depending on how you do it. So we talked a little bit of offsetting the visuals in the hets. So my spreadsheet with all my wire diagrams, I had it down. I think it's about 12 years from the time I started 3 years ago until I'll have several different quad hets that will be starting. So I'm probably 8 years away, 9 years away.
If everything hits the way that we expect it to.
This shouldn't even set us back because as long as I get that one snake to go, I'm good.
Oh, okay. So that one's the Rosetta Stone. That's okay. Okay. Well, that's cool. That's good for you then.
But that's why I was trying to do like 4 in that pairing too. But as long as I get one, I'll be right.
Yeah.
So I forgot what we were talking about. So the thing. So we're on the fence. I think we're gonna figure out a way to combine our two passions with the gray family snakes and the charity in Sierra Leone. We are already doing where if anybody buys snakes from us, especially right now our 2022 collections, all of that proceeds, 100% goes to the charity. So check us out on Morph Market. We're doing that as well as our merch.
So snakes and merch. I miscategorized that earlier.
The snakes was something kind of new we decided to do toward the end there, and we're right now playing with the idea of just call it 100%. Everything we do other than expenses is going to go to the charity, and I think that's probably what we'll wind up doing. I don't know why we haven't pulled the trigger yet. That's probably
we're still back and forth trying to see where we truly lie and what we want to do with it.
Yeah, it's
right.
But we have 4 2022 babies left, and so those 4 for sure, all the profit from those will go towards Sierra Leone.
Right now, anything you buy from us goes to the charity.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to figure out is just the tax implications, and can a snake business be a 401c3 or what do you call it, 501c3? I don't know if it can because you're selling a product. So I'm just trying to work through all the business aspect of that. But for sure, for right now, anything you buy from us goes to the Sierra Leone Mission.
Yeah, my initial answer is I have no idea, other than there's a way to do it. Because I worked for the PGA Tour for 6 years, and I'm proud of that work that I did. At its biggest, highest level, the PGA Tour is one of those 401(c) or 401b? No, 403cb. 401k is a retirement. 403. Anyway, the true charitable organization. And I got to watch it here because if I mischaracterize this, maybe they would get mad at me. I don't think so. But under that umbrella were several for-profit operations, and those for-profit operations funded the charitable operation.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's a structure that way that could be set up. How it is, I don't know. It takes somebody more skilled and smarter than me on that.
Yeah, and so we kind of have the concept, but we haven't had time to sit down and figure that out yet. Well, that's kind of the direction we're headed, though.
Yeah.
Wow. How? No. And I'm trying to think how to phrase this because, again, going back to walking the walk, doing the good, not just saying the good, doing the good is worth the highest praise. Here's what I've perceived. You don't deal in cheap snakes. You've, very benevolently given, so financially, not just time and effort, but literal finance that gets, a lot of people's attention. I won't repeat it, but you threw out a number earlier of what you spent on snakes. So there is a,
I'll share. We're at about 100,000 in snakes, but we sold some as well.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is it sounds like that could be a fine breeding ground to be greedy and overly wealthy, and you're putting those resources into action. And I think that's commendable. And I think that it should be seen, and there shouldn't be any, we all work hard. We all want to make a lot of money, the best that we can. And that's a relative term. I know that, but a lot of us, myself included, probably don't give as much as we should. And I think it's a great standard that you set, especially tying it to the ball pythons is what I'm trying to say to you.
Yeah, I like the idea of tying them together. I think if you were to go to Africa and see what we've seen in the orphanage and some of the people, how little they have, it just pulls on you. You just don't have a choice. Before we went over there, I was searching for a new car, like for a convertible.
Right.
To enjoy.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not getting the convertible anymore.
Yeah.
Like it's just not going to happen.
No,
I'm just have to live life with a truck only.
Well, that hit me earlier. I don't remember if it was just the idea of an orphanage in general, but maybe it was the idea of the girl that it's a good enough example. We'll just say the girl that wouldn't ever see the coloring book that was brought for, but it makes our concerns just seem, it puts things in a different perspective. Just hearing your story, I can only imagine how it was seeing it. And there was a moment where it hit me because I have an 11-year-old son and thinking if he were in those shoes, or if he were orphaned in by losing me to Ebola or in a civil war, that seeing that first, it would bring me to tears. I felt a little emotion from it right then where I composed myself some, but I think that's, like I said, I think it's commendable. I hope that I can make it a business for myself that's a primary stream of income. But now there's sort of a new level that, hey, maybe I need to hope to build this to where I can make it my business and I can have enough to pass out.
Yeah, I mean, we're blessed to be in a position where we can do that. I know not everybody can donate the way we have. I guess I don't know how to say it. When you're there and you just want to do everything for them, these kids in the orphanage, that orphanage was not part of our charity, but it was kind of a pet project that the people who've gone there have helped kind of adopt.
Sure.
Because some of the kids needed eye care.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's got a lot of people who have had Ebola or their parents have passed. And so that's what caused some of the orphans. It's also some of the orphans themselves had been Ebola survivors and had the surgeries and that sort of thing. So they know this, they knew this orphanage. Now we do. And they were so sweet. Oh my God. I walk in the door and they're like rushing us and just like smiling at us and like wanting us to hold them and hug them and show us.
Oh, cool.
It's incredible. And you just want to do everything you can for them. And then they show me like a room where they sleep and it's 3 bunk beds and that's all that fit in the room. You can kind of walk into the room. Right. And they sleep 2 per mattress, not 2 per bunk bed.
Oh, wow. Wow. So that's 12 kids in that little room, huh?
In that room. Yeah. There were 40 kids in the orphanage with one house mom who took care of them. And so I asked, the guy who's the program manager on the ground there, who's a Sierra Leone, I was like, what do they need? How can we help these people?
Right.
And he said, well, they don't have school books. They don't go to school until 6th grade, so they need to be trained at home, but they don't have books. And he said they need food. The government really doesn't help them out. So, that loaf of bread that you saw him sharing earlier, that's their daily food.
Wow.
So it was like, okay, you know what? We're buying them books and we're coming back with big bags of rice.
Yeah. Let's pop something down here. All right. So real quick before we finish up here, where I know you said Daytona, where can people see you between now and Daytona? Or will that be the next place to catch up and hang out and visit?
That's probably the next place.
Okay. Well,
That's the next show we'll go to. Of course, check us out on Morph Market, Instagram, Morph Market. All the money goes to charity. Check us out on Instagram.
Yeah.
Check us out on Facebook. That's the best place to get a hold of us.
perfect. Well, I look forward to catching up with you in Daytona. Before, I know we've talked a lot about it, but just in case, give us one more rundown. How can people support the Central Global Vision Fund, whether through you or on their own?
They can donate directly to the site, which is in our LinkTree. They can purchase merch from us, purchase our 2022 snakes that we have left, and just help out however you can.
Yeah, centralglobalvisionfund.org is the place to go.
And we brought it up earlier, but in my opinion, as one small person, a very attainable $35,000 is the goal that will staff that new facility, which I think you said has, $1 million plus of equipment sitting there. We need 35 grand.
It's waiting for a doctor to use it on a daily basis.
And they've got a grant from the U.S. government for the consumables, the supplies. So they've got the equipment, they've got the facility provided by the United Methodist Church.
They've got
consumables. We just got to hire. We got to hire.
They have a doctor in mind. They just have to have the funds to staff him.
Yeah. So.
All right. There's a lot of good causes out there in the world. I'll never shame somebody for what they can or they can't do or can't give to. And it can be overwhelming because we can't change the world as much as, we can't cure the world. We can change it. We can't fix everything in the world. But guys, look, if you're thinking of buying a snake, check out Gray Family Snakes. If you're thinking of buying a shirt, check it out. We'll see you all in Daytona, and I want to keep up with you. Let's see. I want to get the links, and at the very least I can do is help on the platform. I'll slap it in the description on my shows from now on for a little bit, and I'll head over there myself and throw a little bit in the pot and see what we can come up with. So thank you all very, very much for sharing the story. It's a neat episode. At the end of the day, clicks and follows and all that stuff are fun, but meeting people and building this community and the audience that we have is really fantastic. Thanks for everybody hanging out. Lori, Roger, the last word's yours, and I will shut up and I will hit the music. What do you send us out here?
Yeah, thanks for having us on. And I tell you, if we could get the ball python community to sponsor this, that would be incredible. I think these people who are afraid of snakes could see value in the snakes, the resources that they have. And I think it would just be an incredible connection between us and the area where the ball pythons come from. So.
Yeah. Giving back to the community that gives us, the snakes. It's awesome.
I agree. I'm practicing letting everybody else have the last word, so I'm going to leave it there. Thank you all very much. Stick around.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Give me just a second.